Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends we can make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all
with a warm evening breeze as we opened the door to the rooftop reception. My mother and I were attending General Assembly, the annual gathering of Unitarian Universalism, and as a seminarian, this is now a professional conference for me. Attending work with your mother risks awkwardness under the best of circumstances, but if your parent has a tendency to lovingly overshare, at least by neurotypical people's standards, and you carry a lifelong fear of what they might reveal about the messy inner contents of your perhaps disordered mind, this might be particularly uncomfortable. I was filled with the familiar sensation of wanting to run and hide. For most of my life, the idea of neurodivergent masking wasn't understood, nor was the exhaustion that can come from trying to appear normal by mimicking others, reciting memorized scripts, or remembering to hold parts of your body still that constantly want to move. Instead, many of us just learned to fear small talk and try our best not to fidget. And since everyone experiences masking differently, you definitely can't mask for another person. My mother was going to be my dead giveaway. It didn't take long before we were chatting with a couple of people over ice cream sandwiches, and my mother started talking about plans for her wedding anniversary, her rambunctious dog, and her blood pressure medication. I could feel the blood rising in my face and started fiddling with my cuticles, which is how I know when I'm nervous. I looked away so that the people we were talking to didn't see that look of embarrassment that I know so well, the mask that still bears the face of my 16-year-old self. But then the conversation, having veered into deeply personal territory, I got to hear people's stories of romance and birth and loss, uncertainties and new beginnings. As we shared our life's lessons, the glob of ice cream and cookie in our hands began to drip, and with each story, the walls around my fears, and maybe theirs also, began to melt away. Choosing to move through a few seconds of fear that people might see the messy me inside the mask, reminding myself that I am whole and worthy, even in my brokenness, led to the greatest gift there is, genuine human connection. Since then, when I feel the mask going up, I try to ask myself, what am I so afraid of? So welcome, newcomers, visitors, and guests to First Universalist Church. We're excited to meet you, messes, masks, and all. And welcome to those who come to the occasional Sunday, then duck out of the building before someone notices you, for fear that you might be asked to make small talk over coffee, or fear that you won't be. I was once one of you, and would love it if you wanted to say hello after the service. Welcome to the regulars, who find each other for hugs based on predictable seating arrangements. And I see you all, you know who you are. As I've become one of you, I've started lingering longer each week, but also started to wonder whose stories I might miss out on if I'm not intentional about continually expanding my own circle. Whether you're here for the first time or the 10,000th, you enrich our collective lives and journey by being here today, and we're grateful for that gift. I'm Malia Hausnecht, one of your worship associates. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Glenn Thomas, Reverend Jen, Liz Farmer, and of course, our newest members who I look forward to meeting later this morning. Thank you to Olu and John, who enhance our worship experience and connect us to those outside of the sanctuary through live stream. Hello to you all also. We're also thankful for the ushers, greeters, and artists who help to create the sacred and hopefully brave space where your whole self is welcome, whether or not you choose to share it. Let's pause to find ourselves in this moment. Become aware of your body. Allow it to share what it knows about its anxieties and its longings, what it needs as you prepare for this time of welcoming and blessing. May you feel the warmth of invitation and the support of this community. May we weave ourselves just tightly enough to hold all the messiness and all the joy. And now we'll light our chalice, uniting us with Unitarian Universalists worldwide. Together we say, love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
So folks, I get the great pleasure of telling a story this morning, but I need you to help me do it. So this is an open invitation. If anyone, young or old, wants to help tell this story, I promise you don't have to say words, you just have to ham it up a little bit as we go. So I'm inviting anyone, children, youth, young at heart, anybody. I need folks to play a variety of different roles here. I need a farmer and the farmer's partner. I need, let's see, anybody who wants to be the farmer's partner, maybe you want to hear all the roles first. Farmer's wife, you can do that, Jenny. Farmer's wife, a child. I got 2 children. Okay, come on up this way, you all. All right. Jenny, are you the farmer's wife or the farmer? I can't remember. Farmer's wife. Come on up and have a seat. Kids, this is your house right here. All right, I do need a farmer. Anyone want to be the farmer? Awesome, thank you, Marie. And then I need, so farmer, come on over. I need, Liz, would you be my rabbi? Awesome, appreciate it. So if I could have a farmer up here, I've got a rabbi over there, and then I need 2 grandparents. Anyone? Grandparents? You all can come just be up on the ramp for a moment. You're kind of hiding, you'll come out in a second. And then I need sheep and goats over here of any number. Thank you so much. And then I need chickens in the chicken coop right here. All right? All right, your chicken, sheep and goats. You can be a chicken if you want. You can change up roles as long as I got somebody in these positions. All right, farmer, farmer's wife, kids, grandparents, rabbi, chickens, sheep and goats. All right, we can now begin. This is a Jewish folk tale that comes to us from Poland. A long time ago, there was a family that lived happily in a small, quiet house. One day, they learned that the grandparents were going to come live with them. The children were very excited about this. And so were the parents. But the parents were worried because the house was very small. They knew that when the grandparents arrived, the house would become crowded and much noisier. So the farmer went to talk to the rabbi and asked the rabbi what to do. And the rabbi, of course, said, "Let them come." So the grandparents move in. They have a lot of furniture, which goes into the living room and where they happen to be sleeping, and some of the other rooms too. It gets crowded and noisy in the house. So the farmer goes back to the rabbi. "I did what you said, Rabbi. Now my in-laws are here, and it's really crowded in the house." The rabbi thinks for a moment and then asks, "Do you have any chickens?" "Of course I have chickens," says the farmer. "Well, bring them into the house," says the rabbi. Here come the chickens. Now, the farmer is confused, but trusts that the rabbi is wise. So the farmer goes back home, and all the chickens come to live inside the house with the family. As you can tell, it is no less crowded or noisy now. In fact, it's worse, with all the clucking and pecking and flapping of wings. So the farmer comes back to the rabbi. I did what you said, Rabbi. Now with my in-laws and the chickens too, it's really crowded in here. So the rabbi thinks for a moment and then asks, "Well, do you have any goats?" Of course I have goats," says the farmer. "Well, bring in the goats," says the rabbi. Confused? Oh, we're all already here. The farmer has brought the goats into the house. Oh, it's no less crowded and noisy now. In fact, it is much, much worse. With the chickens clucking and flapping their wings and the goats baaing and butting their heads against the walls. So the next day, the farmer goes back to the rabbi. I did what you said, Rabbi. Now my in-laws have nowhere to sleep because the chickens have taken up their beds. The goats are sticking their heads into everything and making so much noise. So the rabbi thinks and then says, well, you must have some sheep, right? Of course I have the sheep. Bring them into the house. So the sheep come in too. Yes! And as you know, it is no less noisy than it was before. The chickens are clucking and flapping their wings. The goats are baaing and butting their heads. The sheep are baaing too, and one of them just sat on the farmer's glasses and broke them. The house is so loud and it's starting to smell like a barn in here. Completely exasperated, the farmer goes back to the rabbi. Rabbi, I have followed your advice. I've done everything that you said. Now my in-laws have nowhere to sleep because the chickens are laying eggs in their beds. The goats are baaing and butting their heads. The sheep are breaking things. Their house smells like a barn. The rabbi frowns, closes their eyes, and thinks for a long time. Finally, this is what they say. Take the sheep back to the barn. Take the goats back to the barn. Take the chickens back to their coop. So the farmer goes home and does exactly that. As they take the animals out of the house, as they go out of the house, the parents and the children and the grandparents begin to tidy up the space. By the time the last chicken is settled in their coop, well, the house is looking quite nice. And you know what? It was really quiet, too. All the family agreed that their home was, in fact, most spacious now, and peaceful and comfortable. The end. Would you all like to take a bow as you head back to your seats? Well done, everyone. Thank you for helping me tell this story. Much appreciated. Thank you so much. Now, for me, there were moments during periods of our COVID-19 pandemic where my house felt like this, the very full version. And there are moments I know for others where the house felt very empty and isolated and alone, right? We experienced so many extremes during that time. And I think like in this story and in some of our experiences, those extremes teach us all kinds of things. They teach us about what we might need. They teach us about how there are times we need to go back and forth in our lives between being in big community, being in smaller communities, being alone. How each of those is just fine at different points in our lives, and we may, in fact, need all of them. I wonder, though, about the spiritual lessons I hear in this story. No matter what season of our life we're in big community, smaller community, time we need on our own, or one-on-one with a wise elder, if we might bring that sense of curiosity, of grace, of humor, of willingness to try out maybe some ideas that seem absurd or ridiculous to us at the time, and that we do that with grace together. So let's take these spiritual lessons with us. This is the time in our service when we move into different spaces, into those smaller communities. So our kids, if you are, I think it's kindergarten all the way up through high school, now's the time. If you want to head off to your religious education classrooms, into those smaller communities that are built just for you with the adults that are there to guide you, you can start making your way to those. And if you're staying right here, then this space is just right for you too, as we all do the work of spiritual growth in our own ways at our own times.
Come go with me to that land. Come go with me to that land. Come go with me to that land. Where I'm bound. Come go with me to that land. Come go with me to that land. Come go with me to that land. Where I'm bound. There'll be freedom. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm
Good morning. My name is Matt Keller. I go by he, him pronouns, and I'm a member of the Board of Trustees.
And I'm Liz Farmer. I'm the membership coordinator.
Newest members among us, I invite you to make your way up to the chancel now, using the stairs or ramp. And congregation, let's sing them up to the chancel with "Come, Come, Whoever You Are."
Come, come, whoever you are, wonder, worship, our King. Our sins of prayer, of my God, despair. Come yet again, whoever you are, wonder, worship, our King. Our sins of prayer, of my God, despair.
Today, we keep a 165-year tradition in motion. Wanderers, worshipers, lovers of leaving have joined, have said yes to becoming members of this congregation. This morning, we celebrate their commitment and welcome them with joy to First Universalist Church of Minneapolis. We who are physically in this space are not the only ones who gather in to bear witness and celebrate. We light a candle to honor past members who helped to found and form this community. Their dreams and generosity, their promises and practices show us what is possible. We call their memories to our hearts and their spirits to our celebration. We light a candle now to remember that community. We light a candle now to remember that community will continue beyond us. May a community well loved and well kept be our gift to the members of the future. We call the generations yet to arrive to our hearts and their spirits to our celebration. Celebrating new membership is a way we acknowledge in ritual and in public that we are here, that others have made it possible for us to be here, and that we join them in the great web of connection. We celebrate that when we engage membership deeply and sustainably, listening to the call of love throughout the seasons of our lives, we will transform and be transformed. 10 new members have joined our congregation this season. New members, I invite you to share your name and pronouns if you wish. Oh, there we go. Boom.
Thought we were going in the other direction. Okay. Surprise. Yeah. Cameron Smither, he, him pronouns.
Susan Dempsey. Jen Meslow, she, her pronouns.
Carrie Still, she, her.
Caitlin Jones, she, her pronouns.
B. Harrison, she, her pronouns.
Thank you. It is so good to know all of you and see of you. And when I said 10, it was just an estimate. It is so good to know you. We are grateful for your presence, energy, and gifts you bring to the community, and we welcome each of you as you are, whole, holy, and worthy. As a celebration of your new membership, we offer you each a gift. The chalice's design includes many pieces of glass, representing each of our unique lights that together make one whole orb that carries the flame. With the chalice, you will find 4 stones. Each represents one of the ways we keep our membership relevant, engaged, and sustaining. Through individual spiritual practice, acting for justice, stewardship, and building and maintaining relationships at church.
When we welcome new members, we express gratitude for the ways that the new members show up, which invite us, no matter our membership tenure, to similar postures of openness and grace, and of knowing and being known.
So let's take this opportunity to both bless our new members and welcome them, and also to bless and welcome ourselves again and again. Our first blessing of gratitude for our new members' presence, which strengthens our ever-growing web of connection and wisdom and care.
A blessing for reintroducing yourself to someone that you may have seen several Sundays, but you can't remember their name.
For the risk of joining a small group, a spiritual practice group, a justice team, for coming to church again, flexing the muscle of making church a habit and a practice.
For learning new rituals.
What else? What other blessings do we want to shout out for our folks? You can also do this online, though I forgot to get online. Sorry, everybody. Take good care of each other out there on Zoom. If there's a blessing for our new members, a word maybe, something you're hoping for. Welcome. Name tags. Community. Belonging. Kindness. Growth. For all these things and so many more, for you, for all of us, we offer our blessing, our hopes, and our prayers. May it be so. Amen. Welcome.
The night before last, I went with my spouse and my 10-year-old to see the annual spring showcase of Circus Juventus, which is apparently the largest performing arts circus school in the country. With over 900 youth performing the arts of acrobatics, aerial technique, juggling, spinning in giant steel wheels, you get the idea, in a big top across the river in St. Paul. The strength, flexibility, and agility those kids show is truly astonishing. But the part of the show that really makes you gasp are the acts where 2 or more people work together, holding each other's bodies 10, even 20 feet off the ground. They reach out, grasp each other's hands, and lift gracefully upwards. There is a shocking amount of trust involved and responsibility, and the risk is very real. The result of this incredible teamwork is a scene of breathtaking beauty for the observer. But I imagine that for the performers, there is a transformative experience of mutuality. They create something that is only possible by learning to act as an extension of one another. We also take real risks when we open up to each other, when we let someone else see who we really are. And there's responsibility in holding someone else's story without judgment. If we flinch, lose our nerve at the wrong moment, the ego might be bruised, or the connection might slip, lose its gracefulness, disappoint. Studies have shown that social rejection and physical pain activate similar regions of the brain. So whether falling from a trapeze or failing to make emotional contact, there is always the possibility of pain. But we can also strengthen the muscles needed to hold each other up. We can practice trusting ourselves enough to be held. And together, we can be the safety net when practice doesn't quite make perfect, which it never does. I invite you now into our time of prayer, beginning with closing your eyes or softening your gaze. Take a moment to breathe deeply and call to mind the people and places, joys and sorrows that you are reaching for, perhaps with your own confident grasp, but that we can also hold with you. We're gathered here collectively to hold these longings, joys and sorrows, whether you speak them aloud or share them in the chat or simply place a hand over your heart. Each time you offer a prayer, we will pray with you in words of witness by repeating, "You are not alone. We are holding it together." So for your brother, we are not alone. We are holding it together. For people with depression, you are not alone. We are holding it together. For all the pain in the Middle East, yes. You are not alone. We are holding it together. For your mom who's getting heart surgery, you are not alone. We are holding it together. For all people in war zones, you are not alone. We are holding it together. For the teachers in Minneapolis who I believe just voted to strike. You're good. Oh, I didn't know that. For the teachers in Minneapolis, you are not alone. We are holding it together. Yes, for a young man in this church who recently passed away, you are not alone. We are holding it together. In fact, we are holding Anne and Howard Hobbs, their children, David and Disa, and their grandchildren in our hearts as they mourn the death of their beloved son, brother, and uncle, Corey Hobbs. A memorial service for Corey will be held here at church on Saturday, June 8th at 2 p.m. You are not alone. We are holding it together. We are holding Gary Hoover in our hearts as he mourns the death of his father yesterday at the age of 91. May Gary feel our love with him as he navigates this complex grief, the upcoming memorial service, and time with family. You are not alone. We are holding it together. We pray for Bob Cargill, who is resting in preparation for a heart procedure on Thursday. He's one of our new members. You are not alone. We are holding it together. And we are also holding Nanette Stearns, her partner Marie Cooney, and their family in our hearts. Nanette was hospitalized early Friday morning with unexplained symptoms after receiving knee replacement surgery on April 30th. May they receive our love and care in this tender time of uncertainty and waiting. You are not alone. We are holding it together. We pray for connection for those experiencing loneliness, stability for those who are stumbling, belonging for those who have been displaced, openings for those who have been shut out, and comfort for those who are suffering. May we be a steady hand, a net of safety. For the prayers we've spoken aloud and the ones our hearts speak in silence, may the hands of community be strong to hold them tenderly and well. May it be so. Amen.
I'm so grateful for all the ways we hold one another with tenderness in the different seasons of our lives. And now I'm going to somewhat awkwardly pivot to a sports metaphor. So hang with me in the seasons shifting here. Really super awkward, so thanks. Some of you have heard me talk about watching my daughter play hockey. Well, now it has turned in a new season of spring to track and field for both of my kiddos. They are both distance runners, and this means I have been at a lot of track meets lately, and they are very long. I don't know if you've been to these ever before. A lot of events, and it seems like a solo sport, but really it is a team sport, right? So there are all these solo events that are happening, and I love getting to watch this. But part of what I'm loving is watching how in these solo events, the teammates show up, right? Over the course of hours at these track meets, right? The teammates will come and cheer for folks they don't even know and call out their name by name and root them on to get across the finish line or up over that high jump or that unbelievable long jump or pole vault. They're cheering for each other the whole way. Now, I find myself most often over by the finish line for the long distance events, and one of my favorite things is the people that stay at the sidelines until the very last person has crossed the finish line, and they are cheering the whole way for everyone. Now, my kids tell me this is mortifying if you are the kid, but I have to believe there's also some sense of love and joy of knowing that there are people rooting for you all the way across the finish line. Now, if you've been at the finish line at a distance event, you've probably seen some other things happen, right? A lot of things happen right there at that end. Sometimes folks really turn on the gas and blow right through it, and it is unbelievable to watch. Sometimes they are so exhausted that they stumble and fall before they get to the finish line. Sometimes they cross the finish line and immediately collapse. Sometimes they cross the finish line and throw up. This is very true. But some of the things I like to hear the coaches saying is run right through it. Run right through the finish line. Run past it. Keep going, and then let yourself slow down and settle down. Run right through it. Now, I bring this up today because we are in the final stretch of our stewardship campaign. You got it where I'm going? Right? Okay. We're in the final stretch of preparing our budget for our next fiscal year, which begins in July, and we are almost at the finish line. As you know, the vast majority of our income as a congregation, the resources we share at church comes from us, right? From each and every one of us. We set a goal of $1.4 million in annual giving at the beginning of this process. That's how much we need in order to retain our ministerial staff, our directors of worship, and children, youth, and family ministries. And I'll tell you, when I stood up here a few weeks ago and said we were just over $900,000, I really didn't think we were ever going to get to 1.4. I was preparing for loss and grief at that point. But here we are, and as you probably read in the newsletter this past week, as of Thursday morning, we have $1,357,000 committed for the operating budget for next year. We are almost at the finish line, people. This is seriously amazing, and this is because of all of us working together, sharing what we have. So, let's blow through the finish line. Let's run past it. Let's make it through, and let's not throw up on the way, right? So if you want to help us get past and through that finish line, contact our bookkeeper, Jai, J-I-E, at firstuniv.org. Reach out to one of the staff or ministers, fill out a pledge form online, pick one up here. Let's run through this finish line strong together. Another pivot to today's offering and the ways we share our resources together each and every Sunday. This Sunday, we are going to share our resources 100% in this offering with Habitat for Humanity. Habitat for Humanity is a longtime community partner that we have worked with over years, and this organization helps families to build and improve places to call home. So, not only can you give of your financial resources, but we also are really lucky to be in relationship with them where we get to help build some of these houses. Next Friday, May 10th, we have a work day scheduled with Habitat with their new Harrison project. We still have openings for that work day, and we need you to sign up for that and to come join in and work together on something that you are going to feel really good about and that's going to make a difference. So if you are 16 or older, you can be a part of that crew next Friday. There are folks from our Habitat team downstairs in the social hall ready to tell you about it and sign you up. I hope you will join them. And for now, let's engage in our constant spiritual practice of giving and receiving and growing together. If this is a time you have resources to share, please do. If you are in a time when you need to receive, please let us know so we can support you as well. Our morning offering will now be received.
If you hear this message, wherever you stand, calling every woman, calling every man, we're the generation, we can't afford to wait. The future started yesterday, and we're already late. call to war, unless it's love and peace and war that we are fighting for. We can destroy hunger, we can conquer hate. We've been looking for the world to change. We've been looking for a leader. If you're out there, sing a song with me. If you're out there, if you're out there, I'm dying to believe. If you're out there, the future's starting now. If you're out there, the future's starting now. If you're out there.
Safety Net by Rosemary Watola Tromer. This morning I woke thinking of all the people I love and all the people they love, and how big the net of lovers. It felt so clear. All those invisible ties interwoven like silken thread, strong enough to make a mesh that for thousands of years has been woven and rewoven to catch us all. Sometimes we go on as if we forget about it, believing only in the fall. But the net is just as real. Every day, with every small kindness, every generous act, we strengthen it. Notice, even now, how as the whole world seems to be falling, it is there for us. As we walk the day's tightrope, how every tie matters.
Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place if you can. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place if you can. Take a little time out of your busy day to give some encouragement to someone who's lost the way. Or would I be talking to a stone if I asked you to share a problem that's not your own? We can change things if we start giving. Why don't you reach out and touch somebody's hand? Make this world a better place if you can. Reach out and touch somebody's hand. Make this world a better place if you can. One more time.
It's a joy to witness and be part of this renewed energy for connection and activity at church. Last year, Nancy Potter shared with me that she'd been listening to a podcast from The Atlantic called How to Talk to People. Introvert and human dynamics nerd that I am, I had a personal interest in knowing the answer to the title, and it became one of my favorite podcasts too. Nancy and I co-facilitated 3 conversations over the course of the past year based on 3 of the series episodes: how to make small talk, the infrastructure of community, and how not to go it alone. As we approached the end of our series, we both noticed changes in our approaches to these topics, to living in community and in our own spiritual lives. Nancy couldn't be here this morning, but she and I met earlier this week on Zoom to reflect on the conversation's effect on us and what it means for spiritually and socially meaningful living.
Hi, I'm Nancy Potter, and I am a worship associate, a care companion, and most relevant to today, co-facilitator with Liz. I was most delighted and thrilled to see how many people wanted to talk together about things like how do I introduce myself to a stranger in church? How do I make small talk? How do I build connections with people? Or even how do I ask for help at church? And this delighted me, as I say, but also I felt over the series that this is a holding space. It's a place that people can talk freely about what comes up for them and respond to other people without judgment, without having to, think and articulate clearly what they say. So those things were just wonderful. There was so much energy there, and it just was contagious.
I'm curious if your approach or mindset or behavior has changed through these conversations. How would you answer the question, how to talk to people?
I've shifted quite a bit. I used to, I've only been a member for 2 years, so the used to is kind of short, but I used to come in and sit down and listen to the service and then look around for somebody I already knew and to greet or to give a hug, and then I would leave. And this series has helped me to realize that even if I'm anxious, even if I don't believe that I know how to do this, well, I don't really know how to do this, but I'm practicing, even when I'm anxious, I just need to get up and try it, because it is a practice after all. And say hi to somebody, introduce myself. Maybe there's some way of getting into the conversation already. Otherwise, just even some small talk, as I say. And the other thing is that I have come to see that being in groups, then there are so many groups offered in church, like the community dinners, or for me, being a worship associate, those kinds of things really help me to feel more of a sense of belonging and get to know other people and, let myself be a little bit more vulnerable. Important about responsibility. So if I just sit there and wait for people to come to me and then leave disappointed, I've sort of missed an important part of being a member of a community. So I have some responsibility to make things happen. I need to reach out to others and not just wait for them to come to me. But because we're in a church and in a community together, or building community together, we all have that responsibility. So it's really reciprocal. And all of us are encouraged to reach out for one another, even when it's awkward, even when we are shy, and or even when we don't have anything to say and we're rushed for time. Yeah, so I think that it's really a mutual responsibility.
You facilitate meditation and you have a rich spiritual practice. So how has facilitating these conversations supported you in your spiritual living?
I think there are two things that I would say. I think holding each other and expressing loving kindness towards one another, not judging each other, and forgiving each other, those are spiritual practices in themselves. And so just doing those things and learning how to do them better or deeper or richer, and maybe to more people, will help me and has helped me to become aware of the person that I want to be and the path that would take. And so that's really a spiritual practice in itself. And the other thing is that I really believe in the power of communities to help us change, not just ourselves, but our community itself and the larger local and global world that we live in, so that we can, through those sorts of things, foster spiritual and other kinds of growth with each other and for each other. What about you, Liz?
Yeah, what you said really for me reinforces this breaking down of this sense of individualism, that the community affects me and I affect the community. That whether we realize it or want it to be true or not, that we are a part of a community and each an integral part. Well,
And
thanks for co-facilitating with me.
I was just going to say the same.
Okay, thank you.
So, to my surprise and delight, I felt more socially at ease than I had in a while, memorably so. People showed up promptly, some of you were there, early even on a Saturday morning for coffee and treats. We were chitting and chatting away. We were eager to know one another. No, we were not a reunion of close friends or longtime church members. In fact, most folks had just met or re-met minutes earlier. We were at church, and we were there for small talk. Can you imagine? I strongly dislike small talk, and as I learned, most folks there did also. The group was the first in our podcast conversation series, based on an episode titled How to Make Small Talk. Nancy and I had to do so little work that morning in the way of facilitation. In fact, the hardest part was deciding, should we interrupt them to light the chalice and do introductions? They seem to be doing great. So we let our plans and our timing fly out the window. What made this gathering different from so many spaces that I'd been in before? What made me engage differently? My hunch is that folks at this gathering showed up expecting to talk to one another and likely expecting to be met with grace. The wisdom and research of sociologist Brené Brown was alive. She writes, "Connection is why we are here. We are hardwired to connect. It's what gives purpose and meaning to our lives, and without it, there is suffering." Primed for connection based on the invitation, we were eager to wrestle with these questions of what is small talk, if, how, why? Why would we make small talk at church? A conversation which paradoxically ends up moving pretty quickly into authentic conversation. I hear often some version of the sentiment that it's hard to get to know people at first view. It's hard to introduce ourselves, to navigate small talk, to find what we're looking for. It's hard to work beyond internal and external constraints like negative self-talk, infrastructure, and culture. So it's not just you. We're all facing some real barriers. We're still living with some pervasive and insidious effects of COVID, grief, exhaustion, loneliness. The effects of separating ourselves in response to the virus, while wise and responsible, are still alive in our bodies and our hearts. They continue to fundamentally disrupt the way that we engage in larger organizations. And listen, we're a big congregation. I had a chance to talk to board member and social science professor Lou Quast about this, and I learned that humans generally take less responsibility for the whole the larger the group that they're in. When not specifically led or facilitated, like in worship, for example, people in larger groups connect when in smaller groups over shared interests and experiences and identities. At church, this means programs like circle suppers, community dinner breakout groups, spiritual practice groups, and gatherings with those in similar life stages. And finally, we exist in a culture that values individualism, separation, competition, and conformity. This can sound like, I'll take care of myself and you'll take care of yourself. I don't want to ask for help. I don't want to be a burden. Everyone else seems to be doing fine, and my life feels like a mess. White culture in the United States sees needing help or support as a sign of weakness, rather than a sign of our shared humanity. And by shared humanity, I don't mean just our crises or our deepest insecurities. It doesn't have to be that intense. I've felt shared humanity in moments when I took the risk to let my guard down just a little bit. Laughing with a stranger about a funny occurrence we witnessed. Asking a question when I feel like I should know the answer. Slowing down. Enough to appear not busy. Building the expectation of warmth and welcome into our community isn't just for the new kids on New Member Sunday. It's relevant to all members. Some of our longer time members expressed that they miss seeing their pre-pandemic pew buddies at church, and that even they sometimes arrive at church and feel like they don't know as many people anymore. If our group has survived the pandemic, or perhaps getting to know folks wasn't really an issue for some in the first place, I wonder, how do we make the way into community clear for others? Membership is more than a status in stasis. After all, it's human to change and grow, supported by others. And how dull would it be to always be the same person, given how many shifts and transition we experience across our lifespan? My Allowing myself to open and change makes the way for you to feel safer doing so as well. Aboriginal activists and teachers have been telling us your liberation is bound up in mine. This, our web of connection, conversation, and care that we weave, we can't know everybody, but we can know the person just down the pew from us, across the table, walking in. We cannot build community alone, but neither are we free to desist from contributing to it. Unitarian Universalism is unique as a faith in that it invites us and teaches us how to hold multiple truths at the same time that don't cancel one another out. The barriers exist, and we welcome. Greeting folks can feel awkward, and it can make us feel rather cheerful. We put ourselves out there, and we honor our limits. We have grace for each other and ourselves. Community is built by individuals and the collective. Congregation, what I'm inviting us into is a practice in safely playing with boundaries. Some boundaries communicate the need for more space, and some boundary setting means becoming more open and inviting people in. The people I've witnessed doing this well at church are people whose boundary statements are authentic. Their yeses mean yes, and their nos are real nos. They don't take on everything, nor do they stay anonymous. They say yes to when their individual longings and their feeling of responsibility to the community intersect. What will we create? By the third and final conversation in the podcast series, the group had the insight that we come to church to try on these reciprocal ways of being, behaving, and relating. One person shared, "Church is one of the only places I feel supported in practicing a different way of being. Outside church, the culture just feels impossible to escape. Here, at least I know that others are in it with me, at least trying to create a culture of compassion, non-defensiveness, and of lifting one another up." And as Nancy wisely stated, that loving kindness affects larger and larger circles. We have changed as individuals and as a community throughout the pandemic, and we continue to exercise our church muscles. We will continue to experience change. And isn't change the nature and purpose of a spiritual practice and spiritual community itself? We are a community of practice. Building community is a spiritual work of all of us, practicing members of a living, breathing faith.
Let's sing together. If you know the song, help me teach it. If you don't, I know it. I'll help you out. It goes like this. Love will guide us. Peace has tried us. Let's sing. Love will guide us. Peace has tried us. Peace has tried us. Hope and silence. Hope and silence. Will lead the way. On the road from
community of practice, of welcoming ourselves fully and wholly, of welcoming each other as well. Let's take time today to say hello to each other, to go downstairs and sign up for Habitat, to join us if you want for a place to start and to learn more about this congregation, to remember that you are whole and holy and worthy, and to go out and live that way. May it be so. Amen.